all elections in Poland was the election of individual kings, rather than of dynasties, to the Polish throne, based on traditions dating to the very beginning of the Polish statehood, strengthened during the Piast and Jagiellon dynasties. They reached the final form in the period of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth between 1572 and 1791. The free election was abolished by the Constitution of May 3, 1791. Evolution: the tradition of electing the ruler of the country, which occurred either when there was no clear heir to the throne, or to confirm the heir's appointment, dates to the very beginning of Polish statehood. Legends survive of the 9th century election of the legendary founder of the first Polish royal family, Piast, the wheelwright of the Piast dynasty, and of a similar election of his son, Siemowit, but sources for the time are very sparse, and it is hard to estimate to whether those elections were more than a formality. The election privilege exercised during the gatherings known as WIEC was usually limited to the most powerful nobles or officials, and was heavily influenced by local traditions and strength of the ruler. Those traditions diverged between different regions of Poland during the period of fragmentation of Poland. In the Duchy of Masovia, the hereditary principle dominated, whereas in the Seniorate province, elections became increasingly important. In the other provinces, both elements mixed together. By the 12th or 13th centuries, the WIEC institution limited participation to high-ranking nobles and officials. The nationwide WIEC gatherings of officials in 1306 and 1310 can be seen as a precursor of the General Sejm. The elections reinforced the empowerment of the electorate, as the contender to the throne would increasingly consider issuing promises which he undertook to fulfill in the event of a successful election. Wenceslaus II of Bohemia made the first of such undertakings in 1291. Nonetheless, for most of period of the Piast dynasty, electors customarily endorsed rulers from that dynasty in accordance with ideas of inheritance. The Piast dynasty came to an end with the death without an heir of the last of the Polish Piasts of the main line, Casimir III the Great, in 1370. In a milestone for the process of the free elections, Casimir's nephew, Louis I of Hungary, became king after the agreement between him, Casimir III the Great, and Polish nobility. Louis had no sons, and this created another dilemma for the succession of the Polish throne. In an attempt to secure the throne of Poland for his line, he gathered the nobles and sought their approval to have one of his daughters retained as the Queen Regnant of Poland in exchange for the privilege of cozice. The next election of a Polish king had occurred in 1386 with the selection of Władysław II Jagiellon, Grand Duke of Lithuania, as the first king of Poland's second dynasty. The electors chose Władysław II Jagiellon as king, and he married a daughter of Louis I, Jadwiga of Poland, but without any promise that his dynasty would continue on the throne. He would need to issue more privileges to the nobility, to secure the guarantee that upon his death, one of his sons would inherit. The royal council chose the candidates, and the delegates of nobility and towns confirmed them during the Sejm. The principle of election continued in effect throughout the nearly 2 centuries of the Jagiellon dynasty, although just as in Piast times, it actually amounted to mere confirmation of the incoming heir. One could describe the monarchy of Poland at the time as the hereditary monarchy with their elective legislature. A major reason for that was the desire on the part of Polish nobility to retain the Polish-Lithuanian Union, and the Jagiellons Jagiellon dynasty were the hereditary rulers of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Nonetheless, the pretense of having a choice through elections remained important for the nobility, and when in 1530 Sigismund I the Old attempted to secure the hereditary throne for his 10-year-old son, this provoked a political crisis, and the Polish parliament the same ruled that a new king could be chosen during the life of his predecessor. In 1572 Poland's Jagiellon dynasty became extinct upon the death, without a successor, of King Sigismund II Augustus. During the ensuing interregnum, anxiety for the safety of the Commonwealth eventually led to agreements among the political classes that, pending election of a new king, the Roman Catholic Primate of Poland would exercise supreme authority, acting as interrex, and that special, hooded, confederations of nobility would assume power in each the country's regions. Most importantly, however, the Poles decided that they would choose the next king by election, and they finally established the terms of such election at a convocation Sejm in 1573. On the initiative of southern Polish nobles, supported by the future Great Crown Chancellor and Hetman Jan Zamoyski, all male szlachta who assembled for the purpose would become electors. Any Catholic nobleman could stand for election, through in practice only rich and powerful members of foreign dynasties or Commonwealth magnates stood a serious chance for consideration. With the election of the first king of the free election period, the elections assumed the final form which would remain stable for the next 2 centuries, particularly in the late 17th and 18th centuries. The political instability wrought by the elections led numerous political writers to suggest major changes to the system, most notably, to restrict the elections to Polish candidates only. None of those reform projects came into force, however. The Constitution of May 3, 1791 eliminated the practice of electing individuals to the monarchy. Procedure 3. Special SEJMs handled the process of the royal election in the interregnum period. Those were convocation Sejm. This Sejm was called upon a death or abdication of a king by the Primate of Poland. The deputies would focus on establishing the dates and any special rules for the election and screening the candidates. This Sejm was to last 2 weeks. Election Sejm, during which the nobility voted for the candidate to the throne. This Sejm was open to all members of the nobility who desired to attend it, and as such they often gathered much larger number of attendees than the regular SEJMs. The exact numbers of attendees have never been recorded, and are estimated to vary from 10,000 to over 100,000. The usual numbers tended to be towards the lower end of the scale, around 10,000 - 15,000. Subsequently the voting could last days. The entire Sejm was to last 6 weeks. To handle the increased numbers, those SEJMs would be held in Wola, then a village nearby Warsaw. Royal candidates themselves would be barred from attending this Sejm, but were allowed to send representatives. Attending nobles would have discussed the preferences before attending the election Sejm during local Sejm sessions, but often matters came to a heated debate that would last days, and on occasions led to fights and battles. Norman Davies notes that, in 1764, when only 13 electors were killed, it was said that the election was unusually quiet. Coronation Sejm. This Sejm was held in Kraków, where the coronation ceremony was traditionally held by the primate, who relinquished his powers to the chosen king. This Sejm was to last 2 weeks. During the coronation Sejm, the king-elect undertook various ceremonies and formalities, such as swearing an oath to uphold the Pacta Conventu and Henrician articles. The coronation itself would take place in the Warel Cathedral. The two exceptions were the Warsaw coronations of Stanislaw I Leszczyński and Stanislaw August Poniatowski, both of which took place in Warsaw. Influence. The elections played a major role in curtailing the power of the monarch, and thus were a significant factor in preventing the rise of an absolute monarchy in the Commonwealth. Most tellingly, one of the provisions of the Pacta Conventia included the right of revolution for the nobility, if they deemed that the king is not adhering to the laws of the state, while seemingly introducing a very democratic procedure. In practice, the free elections contributed to the inefficiency of the Commonwealth's government. The elections, open to all nobility, meant that magnates who could exert significant control on the masses of poorer nobility could exert much influence over the elections. The elections also encouraged foreign dynasties meddling in Polish internal politics. On several occasions, where the magnates could not come to an agreement, two candidates would proclaim themselves the king and civil wars erupted. By the last years of the Commonwealth, the royal elections grew to be seen as a source of conflicts and instability. Lurski describes them as having become a symbol of anarchy. List of elections. In the period of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, 10 elections were held in Poland, resulting in the elevation of 11 kings.